Let me start by saying congrats on the movie. I thought Wrath of Man was so well done. And that's really all I have today. We'll call it. See ya.
I love it. Have a good one. Peace.
Right, exactly.
Wrath of Man, May 7th.
Exactly. Because I have a few minutes with you, I ask a lot of, a whole bunch of different kind of questions. So let's just jump on in. What TV series would you love to guest star on?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know, man. I loved WandaVision recently. I would have loved to have gone into her world, knowing the backstory of what she created and how people in there were being manipulated by her. It would have been interesting to see how, my character or whatever that would have been would have fit into her story. I thought it was brilliant.
I love that show.
Yeah.
Loved. What movie or movies do you think you've seen the most?
Definitely Rocky movies. I feel like I learned the whole action genre from watching Rocky and then going on to Rambo and then all the other movies that Sylvester Stallone did in that era. And then after that, I graduated to Arnold Schwarzenegger and,
Wait, hold on.
There you go, baby. That's it. They were like my escapism when I was a kid, and now I get to do that for other kids. So it's dope.
When did you feel like you made it as an actor where like you could pay rent doing this as a job?
That's a great question. I don't think I ever feel that way, man. I think that our business forces you to never feel too secure that this could all end tomorrow. So you really don't. And then you look at other actors who did amazing. And then now today you're like, man, so I don't think I ever felt that way. And I don't think to this day I still feel that way. I mean, I can pay my rent. That goes without saying. But do I feel like I made it? Nah, not at all.
Got it. No, I understand. I've heard that from a bunch of people. What do you wish someone had told you earlier in your career?
Probably to enjoy the journey more. I had such an expectation of being at a certain level that the other levels that I was slowly climbing and achieving, I don't think I savored them as much as I should have and I could have. So probably enjoy the journey more and don't worry as much.
These are very good points. Jumping into Wrath of Man, I think one of the reasons why the film is so strong is the script breaks like the typical narrative structure, jumps around in time, introduces characters later in the movie that are not in the movie until then. Like it does things that you don't normally see. Can you sort of talk about your reaction to the script?
That's Guy's brain. Basically, you got a little snapshot of how Guy's brain works. We got a snapshot of it on set, and it was never ceased to surprise us. Every day was different, but that's really how he works. Like what we thought was the script was an outline, and when we got there on the day, he would tear it up. Whatever scenes and lines we thought we knew, they were out the window. He'd rewrite 3-4 new pages of dialogue that you had to memorize and absorb and go in there, new action sequences. No, this scene wouldn't play like that. He's like, who wrote this? And it's like, you wrote this. He's like, screw that scene. This is what's going to happen. And then it would be a completely new scene. And nothing's choreographed. You're reacting to the changes and you're screwing up and you're dropping stuff and you're running and you're tripping and falling and the camera just goes. It doesn't stop filming. And so that's like the magic behind Guy Ritchie's ultra real action movies is because you really are in that moment chaotically improvising everything you do.
I also heard that he does this black box type thing where before filming, he has all the actors come together and read through the whole script. I guess it takes like 8 hours. you're, which is very unusual. Can you sort of talk about doing that before you were even filming?
So that part, I was able to get around that because, yeah, I was still shooting the boys. And and then I heard about that, and they were like, maybe he can video cam in. And I was like, tell him I'm shooting. Nah, I really was shooting. We were actually shooting the season finale of The Boys when he had this black box situation. So I wasn't able to participate in that. Matter of fact, when I wrapped The Boys, I literally went to LA. I had 4 days to unpack, repack, and then I was on a plane to London to go start filming. So
I want to ask you though, were you nervous when you couldn't do the black box thing that like, could he recast me because I can't do this?
Well, I was nervous in general because you never want to feel like you are not as up to speed and up to date as everyone else. You don't want to feel like you're coming in down here and you're unprepared. So that part did make me feel like I wish I could participate in that. But in another sense, he never focused on that once we got to London. When we got to London, it was just, you're going into weapons training, you're going into stunt, working with the stunties and, working on a little grappling and, because every character had different action moments. And so we all had different schedules. And it was grueling, man. I mean, before we got on set, like he put us through a little intensive, but it got us ready for the film.
I also think one of the strengths of the film is the great supporting cast. I love Holt, Jeffrey. I mean, everybody that he put in this movie, I'm a big fan of. Can you sort of talk about getting to work with everyone and who ruined the most takes?
I'll tell you, it was the best feeling to be in the green room with all those guys and everybody feel completely at a loss for what the heck is going on right now. Like, what did I just sign up for and what am I filming? Like, I don't even know what I'm filming right now. And that's the energy I think that guy likes to get his actors in. That's where he wants you to be, so that when you're on screen, you're not playing it cool. You're playing it almost, you're swimming for your life. And that's where he gets that kind of signature Guy Ritchie performance, is because you don't have the time to perfect the words and the movements. You're literally figuring it out as you go along.
What was your reaction then to seeing the finished film? Did you know all the twists and turns? I obviously don't want you to do spoilers.
Yeah, no, I didn't, because there were a lot of scenes that I wasn't in that, again, like on a Guy Ritchie film, at least this one, there was a guy walking next to him at all times with a laptop slung around his neck, rewriting the scene. And as Guy talked, he would come up with new dialogue and the guy's writing and he's like, oh, hold on a second, I missed that. What's that now? And then they rewrite the scene. And this literally was pretty much every scene I was a part of. So while it feels like it's organized confusion, you end up walking out of that scene like, man, this was so much better than what originally was on the page. And you're exhausted, you're soaking wet, you're sweating, part from nerves, but then part from additional stuff that happens when things aren't rehearsed and practiced. But it just felt more real. It feels real to the actor and it feels real on the camera.
I think he did that with all the Robert Downey Jr. Movies they did together. They work like that, constantly rewriting every day. It's his process. But before I run out of time with you, obviously, I'm a huge fan of The Boys. I know you guys have been filming. Where are you in the filming process?
So I am in Toronto. We are almost halfway through filming season 3. I mean, we're like, let's say, between 1/4 of the way through and halfway through. That's where we're at. And I can't say much, but I will say that this season is grounded a lot more in story, and I think more so than the last two seasons. You know, like Eric Kripke, I think what he's doing is every season he's getting darker and darker. And with the addition of Jensen Ackles, that allowed him to not only bring in a character historically who's pretty dark, but it also makes all of the other ensemble Supes darker as well. So
yeah, I'm curious though. The first two seasons have definitely amped up. Like the first season had blood, the second season had a lot of blood. How would you compare? Is this season as bloody as the others, or is it different?
So I'll put it to you this way. I was talking to the the head makeup artist, and she's in charge of ordering the blood. that's her job, one of her many jobs.
Sure.
She told me that all of season 2, you remember how much blood there was in season 2?
I vividly.
I don't think they used when you talk about bulk, I don't think they used over a gallon of blood in season 2, believe it or not. Season 3, we're already at 3.5 gallons of blood. So that should give you a little indication of where it's going.
I am curious though, how has COVID impacted the filming process? Is it could you sort of talk about how does that affect production?
We've been very lucky, man. I mean, we, knock on wood, have not had any cases in our immediate cast and crew area. We have not had any stoppages. We get tested every single day. We have to wear our masks constantly, whether it's at base camp or on set. Everyone has to wear them indoor or outdoors, just to follow the Canadian protocols and mandates. And so and then even like on your days off, you still get tested in the event that something were to happen or someone gets sick and they have to re-pull up scenes or reorganize scenes. They want to make sure that everyone is tested and able to work in the event that an emergency were to happen. So they've pretty much crossed every T and dotted every I. And we've been lucky because up until now, we haven't had any problems.
My last thing for you, because I'm about out of time. With this season, as compared to the others, does Eric pull you aside and like tell you the whole arc, or are you finding it out like script by script?
So in the beginning of the season, I don't know if he does this with all of the actors, but in the beginning of the season, he and I do talk about Mother's Milk's journey, just so that I have an idea of how to craft where I am and where I'm going, and how to build that slowly. And this season, I find that because he hasn't been here because of COVID, you know, when you come, you got to do a mandatory 14-day quarantine, and his ability to come in and out has been severely hindered because of all of the other stuff. It's been a lot more emails and text messages. And I mean, listen, at all hours, you know, like it could be 11 o'clock at night and he'll hit me and I'll respond at like 7 a.m. Eastern time and he'll hit me right back. I'm like, man, did he ever sleep? You know, so it's extremely collaborative, and you still feel his presence. You feel that he's got his finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. It's fine. It's good.
On that note, I got to stop. I'm just going to say, really happy for you with your work in Wrath of Man. It's so good. And you know, stay safe, and I'll talk to you, I'm sure, down the road.
You as well. Thank you. And May 7th, everybody go see it in theaters if you can.